Imagine walking into like the most vibrant, pristine flower garden you've ever seen.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
The colors are just so intense, they almost overwhelm you. The petals are flawless, and the scent is, absolutely intoxicating.
Right, it sounds like paradise.
It does. But then you kneel down to look at the soil it's all growing out of, and you realize the dirt is hiding a terrifying, visceral secret.
Yeah, that is a jarring image.
Totally. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are tearing up the floorboards on Werathunga W. Nemo's poem, The Giant's Flower Garden.
It's such a heavy piece.
It really is. On the surface, it reads like a fairy tale about a beautiful landscape. But if we dig into the text, we find this brutal, brilliant takedown of how modern society hides its worst crimes.
It really is the ultimate bait and switch. I mean, you think you're admiring a triumph of nature, only to discover you are, standing in an active graveyard.
Yeah.
The genius of Nemo's work here is how the poem weaponizes botanical imagery, things we inherently trust and associate with life, right?
Right, like flowers and growth.
Exactly. But it uses them to expose predatory exploitative systems. It forces the reader to look at the mechanical, often violent processes that create the luxuries we just take for granted.
I have to admit, the first time I read through the translations of this piece, the pivot gave me whiplash.
Oh, completely.
It goes from this peaceful botanical tour to a literal crime scene investigation in just a few stanzas.
It doesn't waste any time.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Wait, let's unpack this. To understand the dark reality of the garden, we first have to look at the illusion of its beauty, right?
Right. And the immediate clues that something is wrong.
Because the poem doesn't just present the beauty, it immediately makes us question it. The narrator asks why these blooming flowers are just so intensely red.
Yes.
And points out these exceptionally sharp thorns.
Which is a very specific type of unease. The narrator isn't passively enjoying the view.
They're looking closer.
Exactly. The text approaches the garden almost forensically, like, why is this color so saturated? Why are the defenses so aggressive?
It's suspicious.
Highly suspicious. The beauty isn't natural, and the poet explicitly points us downward, asking what kind of hidden fertilizer lies in the, quote, cold soil.
Wait, cold soil? That really stands out to me, because soil in a healthy, living garden, that should be warm, right?
It absolutely should be.
Yeah, it should be teeming with microbial life, absorbing the sun, describing the earth as cold. I mean, that completely strips away the warmth of nature.
It sounds sterile.
Exactly.
It implies this sort of morgue-like quality. Extreme perfection almost always requires an extreme intervention.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If the environment is naturally cold and dead, how are these incredibly vibrant red flowers thriving?
It makes me think of like an algorithmic social media feed.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Right, because if you look at it passively, it's flawless. It's perfectly curated to keep you happy and engaged with endless, beautiful imagery. It looks completely natural, but that extreme perfection is actually a warning sign. It's fundamentally fueled by harvesting your private data without your explicit conscious consent.
You don't see the machinery.
Exactly. You don't see the massive data mining operations or the psychological manipulation. You just see the pretty pictures. The soil is cold, but the flowers are artificially bright.
That is a phenomenal way to understand the mechanism here. The garden is an artificial construct designed to look organic.
And the thorns.
Right, those sharp thorns we mentioned earlier. They aren't just evolutionary defenses. In the context of this allegory, they are the barbed wire protecting the institution.
Wow.
They are designed to keep you from looking too closely at the roots.
Okay, but human beings generally have an aversion to raw brutality, right?
Generally, yes.
So if a system is fundamentally exploitative, or if the soil is full of something horrific, people usually rebel.
They push back.
Yeah. So how does the giant, the owner of this garden, who represents these massive power structures, how does he get the consumer to participate without causing revolt?
By heavily packaging the horror.
Packaging it.
Yeah, and Nemo addresses this brilliantly. Instead of following the chronological timeline of the exploitation, the poem introduces the concept of a mask.
A mask.
It talks about a mask that hides a gruesome process, and behind it, a delicious taste is shared.
Oh, wow.
The product of all this hidden suffering is presented to the consumer simply as red soda resting on the lips.
Red soda. So it takes literal suffering and rebrands it as a sweet, innocent beverage.
Exactly, a convenience.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's wild how common that is.
Think about the device you're using to listen to this deep dive right now. Or, the cheap, fast fashion clothes in our closets.
Right, we all have them.
Conceptually, we know there are massive, highly problematic supply chains behind these items. We know there is often questionable labor, environmental degradation, or even outright exploitation happening far away from our view.
But we don't see it.
No, we just see the sleek glass screen, the beautiful retail packaging, the frictionless one-click delivery. That acts as the red soda mask.
The packaging creates physical and psychological distance.
Yes.
It provides plausible deniability.
It is a structural necessity for the system. The mask allows the consumer to enjoy the benefits of the extraction without experiencing the cognitive dissonance of seeing the cold soil it came from.
That is so dark.
By framing it as a simple, refreshing drink, the giant effectively sanitizes the violence. The poem even asks, what gods require these sacrifices?
Gods.
Yeah, which is a direct indictment of the economic or societal philosophies we use to justify this exploitation.
We just convince ourselves it's the way the world works.
The necessary cost of progress.
Okay, so if we pull off that mask, if we refuse to just drink the red soda and look away, what is the actual machinery producing it?
How does the giant get the ingredients?
Yeah, exactly.
This is where the poem zooms out from the garden to the surrounding environment. We are shown a harsh landscape under gathering dark clouds.
It sets a really grim scene.
Very grim. The silence of a lonely night is broken by gunshots. We see hunting traps catching rabbits.
So it's not a peaceful harvesting process.
Not at all. It is a landscape defined entirely by extraction.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. The enforcers of this system are described as intoxicated demons shooting bows and arrows.
Right.
But looking at who they are hunting, I initially assumed the young were targeted just because they represent the future. Like stealing a generation's potential is the ultimate tragedy.
That's a common interpretation.
But reading closely, the demons deliberately bypass the adults. They specifically aim to crush the little ones.
Yes, they do.
Are you saying this is purely a mechanical, calculated choice by the hunters?
It is ruthlessly mechanical. From an economic and systemic standpoint, systems of extraction seek the path of least resistance.
Okay, that makes sense.
Why target the strong, who have the physical capability, the societal agency, and the capital to fight back?
Oh, right, they'd put up a fight.
The young, the vulnerable, are targeted because they are defenseless. They cannot organize, they cannot advocate for themselves, and they cannot overpower the demons.
So it's an allegory for child labor or systemic violence against marginalized groups?
Precisely. You optimize the harvest by preying on those who can't stop you.
Wow.
And when the text describes the morning ashes, it makes the chilling connection that the tears and sweat of these little ones are what make the flowers red.
So the blood, sweat, and tears are not metaphorical.
No, they are literalized as the vital nutrients, the hidden fertilizer we talked about.
Which makes the manufacturing process the poem describes so deeply disturbing.
It really is.
The text details frightening these vulnerable targets, grinding them, piercing them with the thorns, mixing them with hot water, and kneading them into a paste.
The imagery is brutal.
And the binding agent for this paste. The tears of young rabbits.
The rabbit imagery is vital to understanding the cruelty of the system.
Because they're innocent.
Exactly. Rabbits are universal symbols of innocence. They are fragile prey animals. To use the tears of young rabbits emphasizes the absolute purity of the suffering being extracted.
Yeah.
The giant's industry is built entirely on terrorizing those who can only run and hide.
And to what end? Like, why go to these horrific lengths?
Well, the poet asks if consuming these young buds grants long life or causes withered places to sprout anew.
Sprout anew. Okay, so the giant represents an aging, decaying power structure.
Yes.
Whether we interpret that as an out-of-touch elite class, an obsolete industry, or an authoritarian regime, the dynamics is the same. The entity is withered.
It's dying.
Right. The only way it can maintain its illusion of vitality, its vibrant red facade, is to cannibalize the actual vitality of the youth.
It's vampiric, really.
Totally. The system isn't just utilizing labor. It is fundamentally parasitical. It is drinking the future to sustain the past.
It's a horrific cycle.
It is. But no matter how good the packaging is, no matter how sweet the red soda tastes, a system this violently flawed has to leave a trace.
They can't digest everything.
Exactly. And this brings us to what I think is the most visceral moment in the entire poem.
I know exactly what part you're talking about.
We move away from the theoretical horror of the hunting plains and the grinding process, and we are brought right back to the base of those beautiful red roses in the garden.
The moment the forensic investigation uncovers the bodies.
Yeah. The narrator looks into the hidden fertilizer beneath the trees and finds undeniable physical proof. Not abstract sweat or tears.
No,
Scattered in the dirt are, quote, tiny fingernails and little teeth.
it's chilling.
Reading that line just stops you cold. It's like finding a human bone in a gourmet meal.
Because the teeth and nails are the indigestible truths of the system.
Indigestible. I like that.
The machine can grind down the spirit. It can extract the tears to make the bright red petals. It can process the blood into a sweet drink.
But it can't erase everything.
Right, it cannot completely erase the physical reality of the victims. The tiny teeth remain as a permanent, horrifying testament to the crime.
They are the remnants of the consumed.
Exactly.
And finding them completely shatters the illusion forever. You can never unsee them.
Never.
But here is where my mind was totally blown during my second read-through. Finding the teeth connects perfectly to a subtle detail dropped much earlier in the poem.
The insects.
Yes. The narrator mentions early on that there are no bees.
Which is strange for a flower garden.
Right. But in the climax, the incredibly strong scent of the flowers nourished by this extracted juice finally draws insects. But they aren't bees.
No, they're not.
The blooms are swarmed by bluebottle flies.
This raises an important question. What do bluebottles signify in the natural world?
Well, bluebottles are carrion flies.
Right.
They don't care about nectar, and they don't care about pollen. They only show up for dead meat. They are attracted to decay.
Bees represent cross-pollination. They represent the continuation of the life cycle and a healthy, thriving ecosystem.
Right, they bring life.
But bluebottles, they are the cleanup crew for death. By having bluebottles swarm the intensely red flowers instead of bees, Nimble is providing the ultimate, undeniable proof of the garden's true nature.
That completely changes the garden from a living ecosystem to an active crime scene.
Exactly.
The natural world isn't fooled by the intensely red petals or the sweet perfume. The flies know exactly what is buried in that cold soil.
They smell the rot.
It proves that the flowers are functionally dead. They are corpses disguised as blooms.
It tells us that the giant's garden is not a place of life at all. The entire structure is a graveyard painted to look like a paradise.
Wow.
The powerful can extract the life force of the vulnerable to maintain their artificial beauty, but they cannot escape the stench of their own decay.
The way Nimble pulls this off is just staggering. We started with these mesmerizing, pristine flowers, wondering why the colors were so intense and the thorns so sharp.
And then we were forced to look at the harsh reality of how those colors were manufactured.
The demons hunting the vulnerable, the ruthless grinding down of innocence to create a sanitized red soda.
And we finally uncovered the horrifying truth in the soil.
The tiny teeth and nails. Realizing that the beautiful perfume was just masking a rot that only carrion flies could honestly identify.
It is a masterful, somber exploration of exploitation. But, this isn't just a grim literary exercise to make us shudder.
Not at all.
The reason this deep dive matters for you, the listener, is because it is a rigorous exercise in critical thinking.
Definitely.
We live in a world overflowing with beautifully curated facades. We rely on massive, complex systems that provide us with incredible, seamless conveniences.
Every single day.
This poem challenges you to look past the flawless petals of the systems you benefit from. It demands that you have the courage to look at the cold soil and ask what kind of fertilizer sustains my comfort.
Are we just blindly drinking the red soda because the packaging is pretty?
Right.
Are we ignoring the hunting traps on the plains because the garden looks so nice?
Nimel's work requires us to acknowledge the hidden costs of artificial perfection. We cannot turn away when we spot the exceptionally sharp thorns.
Or when we notice that the bees are missing.
Exactly.
Which leaves us with a lingering thought to ponder long after this deep dive ends. Think about the smartphone in your hand, the clothes in your closet, or the massive industries driving our modern economy.
It's everywhere.
Look around at the pristine, beautiful institutions and daily conveniences we admire so much. What seemingly perfect giant's gardens are we celebrating today that might secretly be attracting bluebottles instead of bees?